Let the bass kick.
Yeah.
Let the bass kick. Let the bass kick. Let the bass kick. Let the bass kick. Raise your hand. Raise your hand. Raise your hand. Raise your hand. Let the bass kick.
The first one is definitely we need to provide spaces for creative people. Curation means you have to exclude people. Every safe space excludes people. And for me, the most important thing is, why do you go to a place? Because of the people who are there.
Tell us one thing you don't like about Berlin.
I don't like there's such a big amount of intolerance of different groups who claim they are tolerant, but they're not. I always recommend, if you want to do something, do it. That's the most important thing. The most important thing is
Do it.
do it. All right.
That was an intense process, Diego.
Thank you very much.
Absolutely, absolutely. Let's see if the people liked it.
Hello, one and all. Welcome to Unboxing. I'm your host, Ain the Machine.
And I'm Iva Jankovic.
Today, with our special guest, we're gonna be unboxing the future of Berlin.
Our guest today, to help us unbox the future of real estate, co-working, and creative spaces, is a very special one. He's a musician, he's a music futurist, he's an initiator of creative collaborative spaces. He founded his first companies with friends even before he graduated as a lawyer. Then he got himself into music production. He toured the world as an electronic music DJ, reaching gold and platinum albums, even reaching top 3 in US Billboard charts. In 2012, he co-founded Riverside Studios here in Berlin, a first professional space for artists to collaborate and work on their art. More importantly, he works into completely blurring the lines between tech, art, creative spaces in order for all of us to help collaboratively create the future for our city. Please welcome Martin Eyerer.
Hey, Martin.
Thank you. Hello. There's a small correction. I never graduated as a lawyer. I left the university one day before the examination because I was so busy with music already.
Oh, that's
Ooh.
Martin, we always ask our guests to bring one instrument that represents them as a person or as a professional. And I would like to know what you brought, and I would like to ask to describe to us visually for the people that will only be listening and don't know what you brought. So to literally describe it visually what it is.
Okay, so I didn't have to think long. It was clear. I bring a headphones for many reasons, because it represents actually all my life. Of course, the music side, that's the obvious one, but then also listening to a lot of this different thing it stands for. This pair of headphones, actually, it's a Sennheiser HD25, which is 30 years old. And that shows also kind of a consistency, and that's why it makes also a special object for me. So yeah, that's why I brought these headphones.
Amazing. So it's a headphone. Can we see it? I'm
I
curious
thought I
now.
just had to describe it, so I didn't dare touching
I
it.
also want to see it.
Actually, the bag is not from this brand. It's just we had this cooperation, and they have these great bags, because a 30 years old bag would not look like that. And you see, it's really 30 years. You replace the cushions, of course, and the cables from time to time, but basically it's still 30 years old, my headphones.
For the people
DJ
who...
headphones and producer headphones, sorry.
Amazing. I also produce with it.
Yeah, I figured in my life I tried, 50 pairs of different headphones for production. For DJing, it never was a question. I felt always comfortable with this one. And I just, by the way, that's a funny story I have to tell. I met last week the guy, his name is Andreas Sennheiser. Yeah? So he's one of the family, he and his brother, they manage his family, and they're the family office, and they own this company. And he told me a story about actually this headphone, which I never knew, because I told him, hey man, cool to meet you. I'm such a fan of this HD25. I have since 30 years. And he said, the story is when they built the Concorde with Air France, that ultra-fast airplane, yeah, that was like 4 hours flight to New York City. They had to come up with headphones that are really close, because the noise in this super fast airplane was so high, so they developed actually this pair of headphones, but then they realized people were stealing them because they were so good. And that's why later they released these headphones. So,
Amazing.
nice
So
time.
good.
Very
When you
nice
know that there's a
time.
demand, when you find the new opportunities, leverage it. Nice.
Amazing. So could you make a sound with it, Martin?
A sound with that. I mean, we could plug it now somewhere in, and you can use headphones as microphones. You know that.
I've seen that.
So
yeah.
some people might not know that, but the principle of a microphone and a headphone basically is more or less the same. And if you plug this plug in the microphone input of a mixing desk, of a desk, you can use it and speak into it. That's what they did back in the days when, let's say, you play and the party
Let's
is
try.
over. We can try it. And then it works as a,
No
not good
way.
quality, but it works as a microphone.
Ha!
And then when they really wanted to hit the party,
So let me see if it's working.
I see you well prepared with all the technique.
We have so many
Try.
gadgets.
Let's see.
Test. And now that's what they would done. You know, let's say the party is over, you don't have a microphone because you are not this kind of guy, but then there's some people who say, hey guys, last song, everybody put your hands up. And that's how you could use your headphones.
Amazing. Super cool. So I'm gonna create a beat for us to jam on top.
Okay.
I'm gonna do it using some objects, sounds of my body and voice.
Are you a producer too?
Well, yeah.
Yeah, look at his face, he's laughing.
I could say yes. Okay, so let's start with a little strange snare. So it's there. The plastic with some effects, right? Of course. And now let's do a nice hi-hat. You've been searching for a hi-hat your whole life. Now let me quantize. Okay. Let's use my chest to be a little kick. I'm gonna cut the low first. Okay.
Can I add one more hi-hat?
Yeah, of
Can you
course.
record me with
Wait,
this
wait.
microphone? Or should I use my headphones for it?
Use the headphone.
Okay.
We got it. let me edit.
Let's see where this ends. I'm curious now.
Okay, let me do a little build up.
See what the most important element is?
The crash.
No, the bass line.
Ah, yeah.
That's why I have the bass tattoo.
Yeah, the bass
The only
key.
tattoo I have is bass,
The bass key.
because that defines more perfection.
Did you like this one?
Yeah, of course.
We can even give it more a little bit sauce to it. More funky. So now you can join with your object. And you have yours. So now you're the MC of the game.
What do you want to do?
Give me more samples with your headphone.
Ah, you mean like my mouth?
Yeah.
Oh.
I got it. Pitching up to cutting the mix because otherwise it's together with the bass. Let's put some
But there's a
delay.
delay in the recording.
Yeah.
It was more on.
And how about giving me a voice sample?
Let the bass kick.
Yeah.
Let the bass kick. Let the bass kick. Let the bass kick. Let the bass kick. Raise your hand. Raise your hand. Raise your hand. Raise your hand. Let the bass kick.
Yeah!
Let the bass kick. 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 Let the bass, 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 let the bass kick. Let the bass, let the bass, let the bass, let the bass, let the
Nice.
Nice.
I want a high five. Nicely
Super
done.
cool,
Good job,
Martin.
Diego.
You did the job.
We did the job. You give me the coolest samples.
So, Martin, did you ever make music this way before? Using
No.
objects from the table or objects that represent you?
Not really, but what we did, there was this phase of field recording, that's how you call it, and before mobile phones were like all over the place, you could buy from Tascam or some companies like a
Dictaphone,
recorder,
no?
exactly, on a pro level, which with pretty good microphones, so I use that pretty much actually. Also for recording, I do still a radio show since 25 years on an FM station in South Germany called Sunshine Live. And when I was so much on tour, I used also this field recorder to record in the hotel room my moderation and all the stuff. And that's why, I kind of worked a lot with just field recording.
That's
Ensemble.
cool.
Cool.
Amazing.
You're originally from Stuttgart. What brought you to Berlin?
I grew up actually in even a smaller town. It's called Reutlingen, where I went to school. And I moved to Stuttgart when, after being a DJ in this, it's 100,000 people, small city, where people have a good life, they earn money. It's a typical South Germany city. But I realized if I want to become more successful, I need to be in a bigger city. So, and that's actually not an easy decision, because you give up networks you built in your place. We know all of you know everyone, you know how to get gigs, you know where to get this and that from this person. When you move to another city, even if the city, I think it was 30 minutes drive away, you actually start completely from zero. Nearly, you know some people. So I realized when I was after school, not studying yet, and I realized with my partner those days, we started a techno label, we need to be in a bigger city. So we moved there and opened up our studio for 3 people and a small record label, and that was in 1996 around. I was 26 years old.
Oh, wow.
Amazing, man.
That's how no, sorry, the question was to Berlin.
To Berlin, exactly.
So that's
This
half
was
of the
Stuttgart,
story.
right?
So I was in Stuttgart. I lived there 20 years. Became actually okay successful. We, as a team, produced commercial music. We had some decent chart hits. We went #1 in UK, producing for other people, top 3 US Billboard charts with commercial stuff. Not me as an artist, me as a producer, as a part of a producing team, building our company in media promotion, record labels, few labels we had. And after that bigger success in around 2000, I could afford to focus more on my own career and try to build that more up, and started to travel around the whole globe. And a lot of people came to Stuttgart to work with me, but there was this one moment where I worked with my very good friend, Chopstick is his artist name. He produced Fritz Kalkbrenner and a lot of people here. He came to Stuttgart and we were in the studio and he was speaking about what in Berlin is happening. You know, I mean, I came here from end of the 90s to play in Love Parades in all the clubs frequently, but you stay 1 week and you go back. It's a different thing to, I live here. And I realized that day, it was 2004, I need to actually be there, because all these coincidences that happen, you can't plan if you like not there. Yeah, we all know that. You go to a party, you go somewhere and you run into someone. And Berlin is a city where people from all the world come and go. And so it was clear I need to be here. So I went home, talked to my wife, I said, let's move to Berlin. And she was cool. So within 1 year, we moved with our kids to Berlin, and I started, we moved here, and no, that was actually, I don't want to be wrong, 2010. So sorry, I said 2004, but the moment was 2009. 2010 we moved.
So you were married already, like 20-something years.
Yeah.
Early, and you're still together.
Yes.
Amazing, and congratulations, brother.
That's very
25
amazing.
years.
Beautiful.
Thanks to my wife, huh? I was never there, so
No, it's collaboration.
That's why it lasts long. Like I wasn't there fucking it up.
No, I don't believe that. I don't believe that. So you said, you mentioned when you moved to Berlin, and you mentioned that prior to that you visited it often, either coming to play or to collaborate or just to visit. So what was the first time, if you can remember, that you came to Berlin, and what were some of the thoughts going through your head?
we had a school trip through East Germany. So we got this permission as a school, and we had a 2 weeks or 10 days trip through East Germany, behind the wall. It was interesting to see that, actually. And there was also a trip through West Berlin then. And I don't have like that crazy memories about it, but I know how it felt. And then in '88, it was 1 year before the wall came down, I went with my girlfriend those days, just for 3 days trip to Berlin. And I felt like this atmosphere in a city that is divided, that is kind of, like this island around that whole other thing, and it was actually pretty interesting. It was more the west part. The east part was behind the wall, and was the west part.
I mean, the West is also known for a lot of artists that flocked using this freedom in that little bubble of the West and the chaos and energy. Is that something that was also attracting you back then to take that trip? Like, was that...
No, I would lie. No, it's actually not the case. It was like more like curiosity. Okay, it's the city where you need to go and just check out. And we did not deep dive into something like that. But later, being now more, dealing with Berlin, of course, I researched a lot about it, about the history, but I also was kind of small part of the club scene there, because when I then had my first gig here, I'm not sure which club it was, because I played frequently at few clubs like Tresor, like they had the Globus, which is the other floor. I played in Love Parades. I played in all those old clubs. And then you get this feeling of, that was then after '89, when the wall came down and the whole party scene moved, or the electronic music scene, they grew up in the east part, The west part had before that all these clubs, but that was not really the electronic movement. That was in '89. There were spaces, people just went in for illegal parties, not just in Berlin, it was in other cities too. I played many gigs in the former DDR in East Germany, where after the wall came down, in every small city they did techno parties. It was crazy. It was amazing, really. It was just amazing. And so, I felt the movement here in Berlin and the subculture, and I know that a lot of people from whole Germany moved to Berlin in the times before '89, because there was a special rule. You did not go to the civil service for the army when you lived in Berlin. So a lot of like artists, punkers, prayers. And we don't need to go back in that history. Everyone can research about it. But that was part of this whole, let's say, basic soil or humus, or how you say, why a lot of things happened there later.
Amazing. That's interesting information. So I thought that what called most of the people was cheap. There was a lot of places, and also there was this whole effervescence around it, but I didn't know the whole army thing.
I think it's part of the story too, for sure. What you say, it's a mix of that,
it allows
right?
all of that to grow.
It's a mix, exactly.
If you're in the times of army and you're more into other stuff, like let's go Berlin and skip it.
Yeah, and in parallel there is these spaces, and there where we have our Riverside studios in Kreuzberg, which was West Berlin, but it was kind of an area that was surrounded. If you look into it, there was the river, which there was a border, but then also if you look to Treptow, that was east. So there was this area of a lot of subculture that started to grow in the 60s, 70s there. There is, who is interested, you can find on YouTube film material from the 60s, 70s about every district of Berlin. It's called Berlinische Berichte. If you research that, it's really interesting. It's just, I think, without noise or sound, sound. They just film old material, how the streets looked like. Really interesting, actually.
Very
and you
curious.
can find, especially about Kreuzberg, what kind of people were there. So there was a lot of creative people, or like left people who were like not living the usual system, and they started to live the first communities in industrial areas of our old fabrics, stuff like that.
It's amazing.
So Diego has 2 questions that he loves asking every guest. Diego.
Tell us one thing you don't like about Berlin.
I don't like there's such a big amount of intolerance of different groups who claim they are tolerant, but they're not. And I see this from different perspectives. There's a lot one against others. People who are in cars are against people who are on bikes. People on bikes are against people in cars or pedestrians. So I feel this grew a lot even in the 12 years I'm here. A lot actually, where people became really aggressive to claim their claim. People who live in the center, they want actually not people from outside to come in because they want to have like their area, and the same on the other side. So that's what I actually not like so much.
And you're seeing this as an expression, a collective expression, or are you seeing the day-by-day individuals against individuals?
Yeah, you can see aggressivity on the streets, and that's intolerance. And I'm not saying this group or this, I see it
Everybody, yeah.
on a lot of groups. Maybe it's also a thing of society, but I can see that especially
It's
here
funny
in
because
Berlin.
I thought this was a Berlin thing. Like, people in Berlin is just rude, so they weren't.
Interesting.
They weren't like that.
But I can ask you now, what is for you Berlin? There's never people in Berlin. That's, I can say a lot of positive things, but one of the things I love is these different districts. And the people, they like their kids, which is a really great thing, and each kids district is so different. That's why sometimes I ask from people outside, when they say Berlin is like this and that, which kids do you mean? Is it Kreuzberg? Is it Mitte? Is it Grunewald? It's like completely different worlds.
cities in one.
People have different kind of mentalities
Yeah,
there.
for sure. So you probably answered already the second one. What's one thing that you love about Berlin?
I love the diversity here in the city and this totally craziness that everyone can choose what kind of life would she or he wants to live here. You can have this villa, quiet life outside in the outskirts, or you live the Kreuzberg hipster green lifestyle, or the Mitte super hipster. So, and that's what I really love about it. You can choose that, and you can even every day switch to this different like bubbles, and you will feel it, and that's really cool.
And I love how you say the hipsters and the super hipsters. Like
Yeah, in a way, you know what I mean. I think
totally,
you know what I mean.
Yeah, totally know it. And do you have kids, Martin?
Yeah, 3 kids. 25, 22, 13.
Okay, they're
Amazing.
kind of grown up, most of them.
Yeah.
It's easier now than.
Yeah, I mean, I said it before. A lot, especially with the 2 boys, the 2 older ones are boys. It's my wife, and she's a teacher, so she also works. But she actually did most of the stuff because I was simply just not there. So now I can, with our daughter who's 13, I bring myself more in, and that's something great for me too. So I'm very happy that I have again this chance at least to work with a smaller kid and be also part of everything. But it's actually a lot my wife did, and so I have to be really grateful that she took over all that work.
Congratulations to the wife.
Absolutely.
Collaboration is the key. I mean, both Diego and me have young kids, but I'm wondering when you have, I mean, particularly from your experience, you toured the world, you've been to clubs in every corner of the world, if we can say, and especially in Berlin, you played in many, you know the party scene in Berlin. What's your take on having teenagers and young adults, like when our kids reaches young adulthood, and being in Berlin? Do you have any specific fears because you kind of know things, or what's your take on that?
I think it's a general thing, and that's also something when you turn a little bit more experienced and older maybe. I'm turning 54 this year, so I saw many things, and now I see also how I can maybe do things different with my daughter than maybe with the boys. I believe if you manage to be on a communication level with your kids in a way that they realize you take them serious and you speak open about all the threats and the dangers, and you, of course, you're not just like, hey, this is dangerous, and man, you really go through it, and you give like the opportunity that they kind of decide by themselves what is dangerous and what not. That's the best way to prevent actually something, because we all know when you just forbid things and you just show threats, they will do it, and we all did it. And
intentionally.
I agree, especially being a kid in Berlin. There is definitely temptations and dangerous
A huge offer
things.
of temptations.
Yeah, no, I totally, yeah. But when you grow your kids, that they are confident and that they maybe will not take drugs, not because that's one example, because you say it's dangerous, don't do it, it's forbidden. You really speak about what can happen to you if you do it. Then I think it's the maximum you can do, but still that is not a guarantee that things will not happen, because we never have it.
I guess they also need to explore, right? As we all did. I didn't have a chance to grow up in Berlin. I'm from very small countries. 2 million people overall. But still, even in my small city of 50,000 people, we of course explored. As teenagers and young adults, that's what you do. But I would lie if I wouldn't mention that now I have very young kids, like toddlers, but thinking about hormones growing up and having in mind some, things that I wanted to do and thinking, they get to do this in Berlin. That's a little bit more accessible than what I had to do.
Absolutely is. Absolutely it is.
So I digged out that in one of the interviews you reference Leonardo da Vinci's approach to art and also engineering in relations to how artists of today should be. And also, I assume, a lot of things how you create, combining different skills and also surrounding yourself with a network or with a collaborative approach, building together. But I was wondering, do you see Berlin as Florence? And if you do, who would be the Medici family in Berlin?
I don't see Berlin as Florence.
It's
Florence
not
is
that
very
clear.
beautiful.
Well,
Best food.
not visually. Let's say
No,
with
I
the
know. I
creative
get your
juices.
question. I'm just saying. The question, how you frame it, points on to the Medici family, which is more about a big, economical, very powerful family. My take on Da Vinci was more on the angle of there is creative people. There was especially this guy who is known of thinking of new inventions without the boundaries of can we do it, because this is something what when we grow up, we study something or we learn, we know first what is not possible because technically not possible, so you don't think there. But artists, actually real artists, and with real I mean people who stand up every day and they want to create something impossible, something that surprises us, that opens our mind. They don't have these boundaries. Even us as musicians, we have these. When you start as a musician and you don't know anything about music theory, you just play around and you could do anything, and then maybe weird things comes out, but it can be cool. Later you learn about the theory, you will not try them because they're not right. And this is the same thing with engineering. So what I say is, through AI and automized technology and so further, we more and more need the creative input to build products, and we're not limited by technical restrictions. And that's why we can go in a little bit, or it will maybe go a little bit more in that direction. Our role as innovators is more the creative side. That's why we at Factory Berlin, with a great team, we started a strategy about it. We called the Creative Code, where we brought technologists, forethinkers, and artists together. That's the ones who learn engineering, that's the ones who are the creatives, and that's the ones who have visions. And in this mix, you can be really innovative. And for me, just what Leonardo da Vinci did in these days, the creatives, the artists were actually the innovators. That's why I put that topic on.
And like reframing her question, I think what she meant, you correct me if I'm wrong, it's like Florence was the center of innovation and creative people. Is Berlin Florence? And in the case it is, who are the that case was a family, but who are the entities who are putting the infrastructure for this to happen? I think.
Thanks for bringing that back on track, because it's right, that point. I believe that actually Berlin is one of the few cities, maybe the city, where you have this pool of creative people, of artists who just come here for experiences and they influence the other people. So that this is actually true. Why we have a very strong blockchain developer scene, for instance. Blockchain developers, I always say they are the punkers of these times. Yeah, they want to break the system. That's what they do.
Yes.
And they're creative and engineers and artists. And why is there a strong community here? Because Berlin has exactly that. And I even would say Berlin is maybe a big part of the chance for Germany as a country of engineering. We were always research and development champions, having time to be perfectionists as we Germans are. But Berlin is so different. It's that chance to be in the new times, the driver of innovation, because we move into an age of outside in innovation. Sorry, inside out is research and development. Innovation comes from the inside. But outside in means you have triggers and impulses from outside, and that is way faster. And that is why Berlin is actually this chance of this mix of creative people who just come here, and also of technology that is more and more here in the city.
And who or what you think would be the supporter of this scene? Because in the past was the easy condition to live here, right? It was a hub because it was cheap, and you could run from the army. So in the past was easy to be Florence, and everything was the Medici family because it was just too easy. Nowadays, what do you think is the facilitator for that condition? Because now rents are high, everything's kind of more,
I think,
scarce.
The political stakeholders here, they know about that, and this is the most important thing. And there was times 10, 15 years ago, it was not so clear. What roles do the clubs play? Then there is a great union, the Berlin Club Commission, which is actually a lobby group and a stakeholder as one of these players who bring that topic on the map of politicians, make them aware, hey, we need still, because the clubs are still one of these factors why these people come all here. People in politics know, meanwhile, it's important to preserve spaces for creatives, and there's a lot of initiatives and money goes into it. Okay, how can we have ateliers for artists and for subculture here? So still, I don't want to be, still we have to be honest, the development is tough, and yes, it's definitely getting harder and harder, but at least I see there is also some support from government and from private organizations who fight against it. If we look into London, for instance, I see this process didn't happen there. And I remember 20 years ago in London had, I think, same amount of clubs like Berlin. And they had their warehouse parties and all of that. And they lost it, actually. A lot of these clubs closed down. Today, there's not so many clubs anymore. And the mayor, Sadiq Khan, when he got elected, one of his bullet points was, we need to get back the artists, I think he said, even from Berlin to London. Mm-hmm. And they do now, they try to turn the wheel back, which is very hard. Once the scene is gone, it's really tough to get them back. But it shows that there is an awareness. And I'm positive that here in Berlin, political stakeholders, I would say actually from nearly all parties, they know that, and there is a lot of support for it, actually.
That's cool to listen.
It's very hopeful, I have to say. Gives a very positive feeling for the future.
Yeah, but still, it's not bright. So people who listen now and they're desperately looking for spaces, they would say, "What is this guy talking?" I would say it's not too late, but it's still hope. Let's call it like that.
Now it's the time to make the right moves.
But of course, I'm here 12 years, and this city became super expensive, super tough for spaces. And it was already 12 years ago not easy to find spaces. That's why I went in this topic. I searched for 1 year just a space where we can build our studios every day. So it was already tough, but today it's really, really tough. And I see the demand on Riverside Studios. We have waiting lists, and everyone who opens spaces looks for where can I build my studio. So it's definitely really not easy, very clearly. And but there's a few projects, maybe a bit more on the outskirts. You can see in Reinickendorf, and you can see Uferhallen, what happened. So I have a little hope, actually.
Well, but what you said, it's a fact in the sense that it's the first step, is to be aware of it. And I think it's super hopeful to know that the political stakeholders, they are aware of it. I think that's the first step, because most of the places, they are not even aware. Arts, culture, innovation, all these kind of things are completely out of this people bubble, and it's the crazy ones, So it's cool that, at least that it's present in their agenda.
Yeah.
I would like to ask to you, Martin, what do you think was a very important mistake you did in your career? big mistake you made it?
If we speak about my music career, there was a moment, and I got that moment later. I should have taken a management. And why this decision? And I had this point. There was like around 2005-06. There was a few records out that brought me touring from Australia through Asia. I was really around the globe, and I should have taken a management. And the decision is hard because in that moment you invest into that management. You give 20% to a management, and you don't know if this investment, because you give already from what you earn 20%. You give this to a management, and if they're good, they bring you then further. But there's no guarantee for it, and I think I didn't do that, and that could be a mistake if I would have wanted my career to be on a next level. Mm-hmm. Looking back, for me, I don't see it as a mistake actually, because maybe this would not have brought me to other fields where I put my energy in, like in Riverside Studios with my partners, building it up, looking into other businesses. So but from the careers perspective, definitely I would say that could have been then a mistake in these times.
And in the other careers, like as a founder and other stuff, do you see other big mistake in the other parts of it, like in the CEO career and all that?
You do a lot of mistakes, and they are important. You learn from mistakes because.
Would you share one with us, like that? It's every time you're taking that shower, you always come to the back of my mind, because I have these mistakes that every time kind of I'm relaxed, there's always they kind of crawl back to me. Like I don't know if you have any.
We started Riverside Studios just in without any plan.
Which year was?
2011. So we put money in a bucket and said, okay, let's build 3 studios. And then a lot of people called us, network, and we started to build more studios, and we ran out of money. We didn't get not a loan, because you walk to the bank, you want to finance a flat, not a problem. You want to finance a company that is music related, and no loan. So we really, we were really struggling, like big time. We had to work literally by ourselves, call all our friends, help us. It sounds like a great story, but in fact it was really bad, like really hard. Playing, coming from tour, from the airport, not home to the family, going there, work on the flooring. So we really worked 3 years to build that, and it could be maybe a mistake, or maybe it was really a mistake not to have any business plan or idea behind. Mm-hmm. On the other hand, you never know if we would have had a business plan, would we ever have done it? Maybe no. Mm-hmm. So even that, looking back, it has something good, but we paid 3 years for it. Like, it was the toughest time in my life, actually, all of the 3 of us.
And if you could, would you do now? So would you suggest? Because when I do these questions, the idea is to learn, right? Yeah. So the management one is super clear, and we're going to talk more on that when we finish. And but like so related to the Riverside, would you then recommend people to do a business plan, even then if they throw in the garbage and go for the Leonardo da Vinci crazy idea with no knowledge? Like what would you suggest and you think would be a learning from that?
I mean, everything in life has a middle way, right? So there's something between having a complete business plan, try to set up everything in the last detail, versus you don't have any plan. So yeah, I always recommend, if you want to do something, do it. That's the most important thing. The most important thing is do it. Nike claimed, just do it. But it sounds so easy, but that's often the problem, starting things. Even I mentor sometimes founders and startups. You can sit and plan and have theory, but really walk out and try to sell your first product, even without any tech. Yeah. You can still bring people together and try out selling your product, and that means doing versus planning. So I would always vote for do. But if you go into such a big project, it can be, and it's actually what we did in the process, I think, in networks. So I asked experienced people, older friends, they have big companies, okay, what can I do? I run out of money, do you have, and it helped me really, actually, right? We then did a business plan later with the help of my partners and some networks, and this business plan led also to things. So that's cool. The recommendation is ask other people who went through bad processes, had failures, and they can help you or bring in their network in, and so don't give up too easy, actually. Yeah. That's actually also something that unites every successful person. They never give up.
Yeah. Amazing. And the completely opposite. What do you think was the best decision you made in your career, or a very important one?
Moved to Berlin.
Nice.
In the same moment, very hard step. Really, it's if you have 2 kids and full family set up in another city, to move everything into another city is really not easy, you know, because you also rip your family out of their sports activities and everything, and they start also in a new network, which can be later good, and I think it is, but because you adapt to, like being more dynamic and open to change. And I believe today in these times we need to live with constant change. We human beings, we hate change, because when we're back in caves and you have enough to eat, why would you move out and there is the tiger that kills you? So it's better not to change, right? But at the same moment it makes us slow and maybe even not so excited anymore if we frame it positively. So that move was really tough for all of us, my family, my wife, my kids, for me. In the same moment, it was the best move we ever did. Because, of course, these networks here are crazy. The city is amazing. And people come from everywhere around the globe. You meet these people. So looking back, best decision ever. In the process, building Riverside, having moved, really tough. But maybe one of the biggest steps. And generally, I did a lot of these kind of cuts and did something new when I started work for Factory, because the owner, who is a good friend of mine, who is a crazy guy, to have a DJ as a CEO there or an entrepreneur, that was also like completely going into another world where people have their presentations and slides on PowerPoint versus I come from a different world. So very tough, but big learnings, and that keeps us always like on the move, agile, not getting old in your head, you know. So
it was your first time as a CEO or like a head of official head of a business?
No, I mean, I have my own companies, but they were small. I have 3 employees, and that's why I know I'm an entrepreneur. So I'm not like just a DJ.
No, of course.
But then working with a bigger team and adjusting with people who come from completely the business world, that's something else. But that was one of the reasons why he also asked me, hey, can you take over? He had this vision to have someone that is an entrepreneur and change things there.
Of course,
that's why that was actually the task. So that was also, and I'm very grateful for that opportunity, even though, again, like the move was really hard in the first 2 years, really hard, because change all the things, you have all the meeting structures, which was very hard for me. You now have all your show fixes and the schedule explodes. On the other hand, very good learning and going into totally new world of music industry, into startup industry. So that was also a good thing, and I'm very grateful for the chance that Udo gave me with that.
Amazing, super cool.
Amazing. I want to piggyback on that just a little bit, because I find it, I completely understand, particularly how you explain now, what was the thing in Udo's mind getting to you as offering to you the position of the CEO of a factory. But what was going through your head? What did you envision of hoping to gain from this experience? Like, what drove you to say yes?
I was tired of the music industry, because 30 years in one industry becomes boring. Kind of, you speak always the same talks with the same people. Second, I felt already that I need to do something else, and I was not actively looking, but I was open for something like that, because I saw the game really changing in music. And I like, before you promote yourself through music, now you promote yourself only through Instagram, Facebook and co, which changes really a lot. It changed actually everything. Everything you do, your focus you do in music industry, if you're on the artist side, is, I would say, it's more than 50% of what you do. You need to be a pro in content creation. And I felt I'm not that guy that I will love to do it. If you not really love to do it, you will not be good at it. So I was like, open, let's say, for that. And it was a process also, no? It was not like, okay, you become CEO. It was more like, okay, do you want to have a substantial role there? I want you to be someone that gives impulse and really impact to change, like a team that grew fast through an investment of new investors and having a scale plan into something that was maybe becoming a bit too corporate for Udo, because he's also an entrepreneur and he wanted to still have that, agility and like entrepreneur mindset. And that's how he asked me, and it was not like, okay, as we do it, it was a process. And I kind of went there to work there and see 4 weeks how it is. And I totally fell in love with cool people, new ideas, new business, and I really like the atmosphere. It's also like Betahaus, where we are now. It's the same. It's really open-minded people, and I liked it a lot. So that's why I then said, okay, I will do it. But it was a very big cut for my life, of course, definitely huge.
Was it the first time you enter a co-working space? So did you have any experience prior to
I did not know even factory or Betahaus. It's like when you are in different industries, sometimes it's really interesting, right? You are in other worlds. Yeah, I know the name once heard, but I never thought of it. So it was a completely new world for me.
Ah, that's super interesting, super cool.
Very interesting, particularly like understanding that Riverside Studio with the concept that you with your co-founders created it was a little bit going in that direction, right? It's co-working for artists.
Absolutely, and that's why that was a reason, I guess, or I know why Udo also gave me that offer. You know, he came to Riverside and he said, interesting, what we build in startup, you build actually in music industry. And the parallels were, we were actually not a co-working, because the difference between co-working and a community or ecosystem is there is actually two words that make the difference. The one is curation. Curation means you have to exclude people. Every safe space excludes people. And that's what people a lot ask me. Hey, you exclude people, it's something negative. Yes, that's what we do. We exclude people who are abusers, who are not respecting the rules, who don't have respect for other people. Yeah, that's how we exclude. That's the difference to co-working, because co-working, and it's not something bad. Even factories started as co-working, it's just a different business model. Because when that's your offering. There is a desk to work. Anyone who needs a desk can rent it, and then you can see what can we do with these people versus we first think which people as a group make sense, and for these people we give the desk or the space, the community, and then the whole community gets better, and curation is steering. That means defining which are the people we want to have inside. And that's kind of something we do at Riverside too. From beginning, we selected people, my partners and me, 3 people. First, if we felt people, we liked them, that was the biggest aspect. We didn't need to have a reason for it. A lot of people walked in, hey, I need a studio, and we said, okay, no good vibes, no, we don't have one. And so we curated actually, and then later in our 12 years, we started early to think, especially me, what can I do that these people work together? Mm-hmm. And that's very hard, because people naturally don't collaborate. People think of their business, they like to drink a coffee, and we can maybe go for lunch together, but really collaborating, that did not work. So I tried out a lot of things, and I figured out one thing. When I brought a startup into Riverside to try things out, I saw that people who are very busy suddenly sat together because they were curious. They said, what are you doing? Okay, suddenly they spend time. And then later, they work together. That means you first come together through a common, let's say, group where we have understanding of value system, and we know that we are sympathetic to each other, and we might maybe build trust, that what happens. And then after that, you naturally think, okay, now what can we do together? And that happened actually. And this is something what Betahaus and Factory, I think, more or less also is in the DNA of these places, and that's what we did at Riverside Studios too.
Amazing.
Super cool.
Lovely. I think it's perfect time to roll into a bridge.
Yeah. So we're gonna get
another track.
Yeah, we're gonna go for another
Not
track.
yet, but we will get there.
So this is literally our section called Questions Out of the Box. So I would ask you to take this box. You can put it in your lap or over the table, whatever if you like. Open it.
I open it.
And take a question out of there. These questions, they were taken out of famous interviews and internet. So They are very random.
Okay.
Out of the box.
Literally out
Okay.
of the box.
But I see you a bit laughing, so.
Yeah, because
We don't know.
I don't know which one, but there are many funny ones.
Okay, I read. Do you have a phrase or saying that you never understood or you had? Maybe not a phrase, but I just lately figured out that no one really understands Instagram. and you know, the funny thing is, yeah, we all know it a little bit. Maybe there's a lot of pros here around, but I figured I know maybe only 50%. And then I asked another friend, hey, can you explain me everything? I actually also don't know. I asked the next one. No, okay, so it's not really a phrase, but that is a thing where I figured out a lot of people don't understand all the functions, and so,
Fair.
yeah.
Can you please take another one? You can leave this out. Yeah, leave the question out. We hope for a funny one.
A teenage sin you didn't confess to your mother. I'm sure there's many, actually. I think
Or
that,
maybe more importantly, the one your kids haven't heard about yet.
Yeah, because
no, that's maybe not so good.
yeah.
I think when we were young, we went a lot to meet outside in some places, and we just drank so much beer with 15 or 16, and it really kind of escalated in a way you get really, really drunk, but then the mother actually doesn't know that, right? So that was maybe something, okay, there is the son who is actually pretty in a nice setup, but then he's really a party monster.
But do you think your mother really doesn't know?
No,
or
of
she's
course
just
she knows.
pretending?
I think that
no?
actually
Mothers
mothers
always
know all the sins, to be honest.
I also
because they
feel
were
that,
also
yeah.
kids, you know.
Yeah.
Amazing. Thank you, Martin.
But my mother's super cool, I have to say that. She would have,
Yeah?
she always supported full. Actually, she put me in a dancing school without that I wanted it. She said, you learn dancing, and that's why I became a DJ. Because there was this...
You learned dancing.
there was-
Wait.
yeah, because my
Okay,
mother
cool.
said, hey, that's part
Yeah.
of education, you go to dancing school. No, I don't want. But then I went because in these days there was on the Saturdays a party for below 18, so 16, 15. So that was the good thing about it. And I got in touch with DJing. So thanks to my mom,
Very cool.
Amazing. And thanks to dancing.
I became a DJ.
Which is a
Yeah.
very natural connection if you think about it, right?
Yeah. Okay, let's do one more.
Which everyday noise gets on your nerves? I think this is my tinnitus. It's I think
of
most
course, 30
DJs
years
have it.
DJ, yeah, of course.
But it's,
Yeah.
thanks God, it's not so hard that I'm really struggling with it. I only hear it when it's really, really low. And I know about tinnitus that when you focus on it, it gets worse. So I'm dealing really okay with it, and it's not super, super bad. But actually, it's everyday noise that gets on my nerves.
That's challenging. We already mentioned that I kind of dig into your profile, and I heard that you're enthusiastic about many new things. You love trying new things. So in the connotation of Berlin, I also see Berlin as a city where you can experience, do new things. So I was wondering, do you see Berlin as a city where we all always try to create new things, almost for the sake of creating new things? Or are we also capable of nurturing and growing things?
It depends on the individuals, actually. That comes back to what I really like about Berlin. This kind of diverse, completely diverse setup. And since I move in different worlds, the most interesting back in the days, what I explained to people is Berlin is a very laid-back city, but on the same moment, it's high energy and as fast as New York. And it depends in which bubble are you kind of moving, and that's actually, I think that's the answer to the question too. There is these people, they do that for the sake of it, but then there's others, they simply have a different focus.
Good. So if we think about the future of Berlin, we can facilitate both. So kind of having the growing, the stability, also thinking perhaps from the companies and startup perspective, right? On one hand, you know, we've seen in betahaus a lot of new startups forming, and at a certain point, sadly, leaving the city because of it's not able to match all of their needs, perhaps, or it's not the right environment for them to grow and stabilize.
I think generally we have a good development in innovation and technology sectors. You can see a lot of groups from Germany, still in other parts of West or East, wherever, but they have innovation departments here. And that showcases innovation is something here in Berlin. For me, it's in the DNA, but still we have industry connected to technology that maybe not necessarily is here for a short time and leaves. I believe very much actually in the future of Berlin as an economic city. And that's we sometimes forget as Germans, because in Germany, a lot of people outside Berlin see Berlin very negative. Because Berlin actually, if you see in the finance distribution of the country, a lot of money goes in and they always say, yeah, you burn the money. But we have to be fair. It was also a city that went through times of, it was an industrial area back in 1920 with big industry, Siemens and all, huge industries, then destroyed by wars, separated through a wall, and now coming back, having also double structures and driven down infrastructure and and there is a huge effort to bring that back, but I can see it on a very, very good way actually. And I think Berlin, if we speak about the rest of Germany, when you look outside Germany, it's different, but Berlin is way, way, way better actually as the perception. And my perception is when I speak to founders, to scale-ups, to companies, actually not as negative as some others do. I really believe it's good.
Okay, nice. Many things that you're sharing today give us so much hope for this.
I'm a positive person.
Exactly. I see. I love that.
What do you think Berlin needs to do to remain an important real estate landscape in Europe? No, because we see that because of many reasons, include the whole startup scene. Like there is this kind of phagocytation of the scene in Berlin, with all this demand and all these people coming with much more money, like the gentrification, we could call it and generalize, but there are many factors, right? So what do you think Berlin could do to remain livable and also be like a big part of...
The biggest problem is definitely lack of space.
You think?
No, it's not what I think, it's a fact actually.
But you mean space that is built?
Flats, apartments, but not, I said space, I did not say apartments, because you also need space for small businesses, for artists, for anyone who does a business. It's the same problem. And you can solve that only by one thing, is construct more. That's actually the thing. I know there is other approaches, and they say if we regulate the market and get the rents down, but to be honest, it will not solve the fact that there is not enough space. I think Berlin is between 2 and 4% empty apartments, which is crazy, not enough. You need the double of a healthy city that people move in and out, and then there's free apartments. If you have 2 to 4%, people stay in their apartments because they're not finding something new. In the same moment, Berlin grows by 100,000 people every year, but we construct, 20,000 apartments only or something like that. Don't put me on the numbers now, but the 100,000, that's the real number of people moving in, and we construct not enough. That means the situation gets worse every year, because we would need to construct 120,000 apartments to have more available space for the people who already are here, but we have more people coming. And that makes everything incredibly expensive and incredibly, if you leave all to the market, then of course, and that's what you can call gentrification for normal people who maybe cannot afford apartments anymore, then this is a huge problem. So first, we need to construct more. How can we do that? Permissions. You need to be faster with permissions. We are very slow. It takes around 10 years from the moment you buy a piece of land and you build a big, let's say, I'm not talking about one family house, I'm talking about big real estate projects. It takes 10 years before the tenants move in. Why? 8 years from that, or 7, is part of the permission process. That drives the costs up, because when you buy land, you pay interest for the land, and the developers who buy that and develop it, they pay 10 years interest. Then you reach to a certain level where you cannot construct below, 2,000 euros per square meter. When you already construct for 2,000 per square meter, you cannot rent out for 10 euros because you will lose money. So it's one of many things you have to do. We also have to, as a municipality, take care that we have affordable apartments for people who have lower money. We need to see how do we treat with public-owned land. Do we preserve it for people with less money? All of that, there's a lot of tools around, but the answer to the problem is we need more apartments. That's it's simple, but in the same, not simple to reach, but that's the simple thing.
There's something super interesting in what you said here, because you said we need more spaces, which means we need to construct, to build more. And then I would say, well, but then we stay in the hand of the market, the savage market, right? Like, because every new apartment in Berlin is like $500,000 to start with. And it's cool not cool, but it's super interesting for me. It really shines a light on the subject for me. Like, so the prices are not only high because people are, greedy, because the constructors are greedy, but because actually there is a slow down process from the government. So part of the high prices in the new apartments or the new things is related to the government being slow.
Yes, but it's part of, and it's the offering. We have one bottle of water here, we are 3 people and we are thirsty. So, 4th person selling that bottle, who pays most? We have 10 bottles here, the price will go down. It is simple. Because that's always the argument, they only build luxury apartments right now. Yes, because the demand is so high that, of course, you can ask, and people who can afford more, they will pay more. And it's not the overall answer, it's just part of the answer. You need to, as municipality, construct apartments which you give regulated to people they cannot afford. You have the tools. You can give permissions for a tower to a developer and say, okay, you get the permission, 20% needs to be for the next 15 years or 20 years below that price, you rent it out for that price. You can steer and control that. There's many ways, but a higher offering leads always to lower prices. Always. That's definitely the law.
But there's one thing maybe to guide that, or to take that back actually a little bit. We talked now about building new places, and there is space, I guess, for Berlin to expand. But just 5+ years ago, there were so many spaces in Berlin which were kind of like nobody wants. Old buildings, some abandoned, some probably in disputes of the ownership. And I know that you also have currently a project that works a lot in recreating or re-giving life to some of these old real estate projects, which I guess, hearing now the legal process, how long it takes and how tough it is there still spaces like that in Berlin that we can occupy, that we can repurpose, that we can reuse and kind of create new spaces for communities?
There is not so many anymore.
Okay.
Definitely. Which is sad, but that's the price for a booming city, or the price of a booming city. We can try to reward companies to offer these spaces by what I said before. Okay, they want something, they want permissions, and you could say, we need space for that. We secondly have a lot of buildings in public hand, where the question is, what do we do with them? And there's a lot of happening. If you look at Alte Münze, for instance, which is, for me, a perfect example how you can deal with that. There is this people, the Spreewerkstätten, which I'm very close with, and they, with their own investment of time and then the money they made, and they re-put it into the building. They have like this mix of, they give 20% to subculture for very subsidized price. They make their money with corporate events. So that is an answer, actually, how you can offer conditions with, you don't offer, you offer, you give conditions to people to build something, construct, or public-owned places. Say you can operate that, but 50% of the space needs to go to these kind of groups of people. That's the way how you can deal with it. What you ask is the project we do in Neukölln, which is actually not a common thing. It's Philip Morris who produced cigarettes there. And 80% of this whole asset, it's a huge asset of 150,000 square meters, 20% are still production of cigarettes and will stay, but the rest is empty, and they could have sold it. So they decided to build a hub of creativity and innovation. And the good news here is that they are not doing it on first place, neither for promotion for the tobacco business. They want to do it for the reason of innovation, have with them to transform the company to going away from tobacco products. And the other reason is to showcase how such a surrounding and how can you transform industrial areas into such a thing, and decided not to sell it and decided to develop that. And luckily we partnered up and take care for that process, and there will be a curated concept that is a well-balanced of artists, subculture, education, sports. And then we have startups, innovation, and companies who might later want to be there because people would want to work in an environment where there is this diverse mix of these different sectors and people who are there, where it is an exciting part of the city. So it's a great example of how these projects can work, and the business plan behind it's Philip Morris is not altruistic, so there is a business plan behind. On the long term still, that will be a good business case, but not maximizing through the real estate. So, but that's not a unique, but that's not very common actually.
And is this project related also to, correct me if I'm wrong because I don't have like full information on it, but I went to play in shopping in a mall that was a mall before, but now because the owners, they want to renovate and the space is going to be closed for a year or two because of licenses, they gave it to a collective to take care of it. And they do that because there is a new law related to social responsibility, which the money they invest in this project somehow is detached from the taxes. So is this Philip Morris project also in that line? Are they also covering that?
Not really, but they're doing that project kind of for the reasons I said before. They want to transform and they want to showcase in Berlin, in a city where there's innovation, where it's all that mix we discussed before. But what you say is a general question that reaches, meanwhile, leaders of municipalities, mayors in many cities, because not so much in Berlin, but still we have change of how cities are working, especially city centers. In the past, we had shopping malls, because people, they work in the factory outside, they live in another part, they have a car to go to work, and then they have the car to go to the city center to do shopping, because that was, in the last 20 years, actually a way of spare time.
Yeah, social thing.
Yeah, and all of that changes. The way how we work changes, big factories putting production outside even Europe, demographic change. People want to have city centers that are again exciting. So we have a real estate crisis in all these shopping malls. In the same moment, we all ask ourselves, how does the city need to look like? Maybe ideally without cars, because if I live and work and have spare time in one area, why would I need a car then? So I think that question, or I know, is a very relevant question and leads to now to a readiness to give collectives, maybe shopping malls, to try out, and it's not a big movement yet, but you can see it. And I heard of a nice process in London, Oxford Street, where the municipality gave an agency. They do kind of a similar thing what we do as Green City Development. So they made a call out for artists to have for free, pitch your projects, and you get for free a space for a year in Oxford Street in a shop, because these shops are empty. You know what I said? So they want to revitalize it, but through artists, through exciting things. So there is a slight movement, besides of big issue in politics. What do we do with city centers? And that is slowly a trend. I can see slowly a small trend, which is good.
And you see here happening in Berlin, like that you're more connected to the political aspect. You see that conversations going on.
The conversation is across all parties there. Everyone knows we need to do something. They need to do something how to still keep city centers exciting. I mean, Berlin is not a city of 100,000 citizens in middle of Germany. The problem is arising, but not still totally there. We know the city is still working because it's just as big, but yes, they know it. And I think they put in the coalition contract, it's public, you can read it, even a proper budget for ideas how to develop city centers with new concepts. So that showcases, actually CDU and SPD both agreed that's one of our goals. It's in the coalition contract.
Martin, man, you bring only good news, huh?
Exactly,
It's amazing.
it's positive.
You know, the positive communication is something that has an effect on people, right? Because we generally, through social media, we are all afraid now of everything, and for a reason. War, pandemic, economic crisis, energy crisis, and people are you get in a negative cycle, you are afraid, but there is, and we then easy forget the good things, and they are there. And we should remind ourselves, because we want to be in a positive cycle, and be positive and do something, and do not see only the negative.
No, that for sure. But what I find nice here is that it's not like an exercise of being positive. It's like fact. It's cool that you're on the nice side of the fact.
Absolutely. I want to ask, before we jump to the next topic, specifically for the space that you mentioned in Grenzallee, you said in Neukölln, right? Is this already open for public? Can people already come there? Do they need to sign up? What is the process?
The thing is the following. It is in an industrial zone, and there is laws. What can you do in which zone of a city? So in an industrial zone, some of the things we want to do, they are permitted, and some things are not permitted. And we are in a process of putting the concept in a way together that the authorities there, they permit us the whole mix, but they have also important topics for them, like small businesses who want to produce and manufacture need spaces. So if we turn the whole city in a whole big creative bubble, that can be nice for us, but let's say a small company with 10 people who manufacture some wood stuff or metal stuff, they still need also spaces. So I see totally that point, and that's why these industrial areas are for. So we are in a very positive and in a good process with them together to go deeper and deeper into our concept, and we are already in the process to find a right balance that we make sure there is still space. And actually, it's nice for the concept to still connect a carpenter with a startup, you know, so it's a good thing.
Absolutely.
Or production-related innovation. So we put, besides of the Creative Innovation District, the headline Industry 4.0 as a storyline on top of that. So we showcase also still manufacturing and everything. So it's such a huge development. So this takes till it's finished, maybe never, but it takes years to grow inside. And now we deal with the authorities that they like the concept and they give us the permission for interim use. And then we start pretty fast with events and stuff. But right now we're still in that planning phase. But within this year, with them, we're in the process, we believe we will reach to by let's say Q3, to a point where we can really have like the first people on ground.
A bit of open door.
Yeah.
Perfect, cool. Well, everybody mark your calendars, wait for Q3.
Absolutely.
And is that actually the building that has the cowboy, the
Exactly.
Marlboro cowboy, right? Because I was thinking, I know, okay, well.
And the funny thing is, I mean, we have a lot of communication already internally with people and so further, and some people ask critically about, do we promote tobacco and so further, and we all, but everyone says, but you keep that cowboy, right?
Yeah.
Exactly,
So
yeah.
Everybody's
that
against
cowboy's
cigarettes,
market.
but everybody wants
Exactly.
the cowboy.
Exactly, especially if you're entering Berlin,
emblematic.
like from the airport, for example. I think that's where people exit the highway, right? Or Grenzallee, and you see that cowboy from far away.
Yeah.
Keep it.
Cool.
But there's a few activities ongoing, like there's a sports field we already use. There's Victoria Berlin women's soccer. They train there. So what we can do within the legal permissions, we do already. So it's not, there's nothing happening, but just for public, that will take a little bit time.
Cool.
Makes sense. So maybe still staying on that topic, particularly on like how you're growing and what the process is for you to build that community and create a space where people not just come and use but also interact. What are some of the key values, or what is actually the core value proposition of a creative space like that that allows people to do that? Like,
it's the community mix, actually. That's the core value proposition. For me, the most important thing is, why do you go to a place? Because of the people who are there. First place, not
so
random.
back to that curation, back to that
Absolutely.
defining.
We define forehand, and we did all of that. What do we want to have there? So placemaking or activation is art, culture, entertainment, education, and sports. To make a nice environment where creative, open-minded people meet with people who produce things, and then we will have a programming, an offering of events, of different programs like mentoring and whatsoever, bring people together with certain goals so they have like a reason how to become part of a community. I said before, the second thing besides of the curation, what is important is the word trust. Maybe I forgot to say it, but for me, how can we build trust? Only if we bring these people together. And then there's many reasons why you would want to go there. There could be a reason of there is a market I want to attend, of arts or food market. There could be I want to play paddle tennis because we have an urban sports park, or there's a concert, or there is my garage where I work on my products. But then that's the value proposition. But then when you're there, it's not just the place where there's your company, it's the place where you meet the other people, and there will grow more reasons why you want to come back. And maybe tomorrow you will not work for this company there, but you still come back because you met people there. There is other reasons why you want to be part of that huge community and that thing we built.
So growing as your also personal growth might be, you're kind of coming back and refeeding in both ways, right?
Yeah,
to
exactly.
kind of supercharge it. Very
and
interesting.
We always look for people who also are ready to give and not just to take, because every community lives that people give, that you take care of a group, you organize a meetup, or you just answer people. At least you're open for it. So that's also part of the curation. Yeah, what is this? A big company, they're looking for 10,000 square meters to park their cars, not good for the concept. Is it UDK who is interested in being there and they come up with a concept that provides offering for people who are also on the whole there? Yes, this is great. So that's also the way how to think.
The exchange, right? Providing value and also taking goes both ways. Yeah, 100%.
So with what you're saying, is it correct to say that more than ever big companies and even the government are open to work with innovation agencies or innovation agents?
They're not just open. They know they need to do it. Maybe not all of them have the answers, but it's very clear they need to transform because all the topics, we know them. War for talents. How can we get the best people in? How can we have people wanting to come back to work? How can we make them generally, as an employer, #employer branding, be like, okay, this is an interesting company for me. The transformation of the businesses itself, from production to maybe other fields, innovation, of course, and they have that need. So maybe not everyone believes in such an ecosystem, and not all of these leaders know that, or would say this is a way how we do it. But I would say generally, meanwhile, everyone knows that is the big challenges of these days. And we at Factory, and we offer that they were our clients. You become part of this community ecosystem for that reason. That's how the transformation actually. It's part of the transformation. Yeah.
Cool, amazing.
So I have a question going back to kind of the government, and we talked about what they're aware and how they're particularly in Berlin. There is a general desire to make this change or to reverse a little bit of what Berlin started losing. But I'm wondering, in the concept of these creative spaces, how much do creative spaces like this bring to the reputation to the city and kind of...
We have, meanwhile, a few of bigger projects or smaller as well. And I think they do a lot for the reputation, or could do, the more we have. Same as clubs, for instance, do. Techno nightclubs, you know, because this kind of culture attracts a certain amount of people. It has their circles globally, and they also change the way how the city is actually because of the people that come for them, and they are suddenly in that city. So this is something on the industry side, on the economy side, that has the same impact, I believe, as role models, as part of the marketing for a city, which is super important. There's 6 factors why digital industry cities thrive. It's access to funding, access to talent, it's infrastructure, it's network, it's marketing. Because that's what I said before also about positive communication. I need active communication that this is a city for startups. And you could say, yeah, everyone knows Berlin is for startups. No, Berlin needs to go out and say, we want you startups to come. And that is part of these factors of success. And so what you ask is, for me, it's part of that story that it helps of kind of part of a self-fulfilling prophecy and attracts the right players, let's say.
I want to play the lawyer of the devil here. How much good to a city a startup scene brings to it? How much is good and how much of it is bad?
Curation is the answer. You laugh, but I mean it.
No, for sure. What kind of startup or business you want to bring to the
always,
city, right?
I believe it's always the way how. And we had that process. You remember Google wanted to be with its headquarters here. So they did not do it because demonstrations and even some political stakeholders said, yeah, maybe it's better if they go. Why not having them here and say, okay, you want to be in Berlin, this is great, but what will you do for Berlin? Will you pay taxes here? Will you build apartments here? I don't know. What is your offering instead of just being here? And I think that's part of a curation too. And how if we would have too much only startups, that would not work. An ecosystem works always when you take care of everything, and that means also the club scene is important as one of the many puzzle points and puzzle pieces why the talents are here in Berlin. So yes, please take care that there's still enough of them there. Same with startups, need access to capital. No? Point number 2, I said. How many VCs do we have here? So if we only have startups, no VCs, no talents, startups will even also not work. So curation should be coming from the municipality. They should have an overview, okay, what's my vision for that city? What do we all need that this works? And what can we put out as pull and push factors of regulations, of subsidizing, and so further programs to attract the one puzzle piece that is missing, or to push that we have too much of these.
I love that you have the vision for what should be the ideal situation, and created the balance. I think that's the word. But it's still like pulling as the
it's always easy to talk
of the devil.
It's
not easy.
I mean, speaking about politicians, it's always easy to talk. Hey, you do just that, and then you sit in the driver's seat. And I know it by myself from running a company like Factory Berlin, and then you have you're facing the reality that of course things are never easy. Then you learn, if I want to do this, that. So I'm not sitting here and
But Martin, I love it because at least you're bringing a vision which is very fact-based. And I love it because it's actually a most natural possible solution for it. It's let's curate who comes to the city. I love it. Like, don't justify yourself. No, I think it's the opposite. I want to vote for Martin.
No.
That's what I want to make my next question. Like, is there a future in politics for you? Like...
right now, no.
Okay.
I'm really involved actively not in a way. I'm not a politician, so I don't have a mandate, and so it means I don't make money from politics. Right now, I don't see that. I don't know how I feel in 5 or 10 years, really. But right now, it's not my plan. But I love to have the opportunity to be part of it and to give impulses and also work. That's really something nice. But though it's a lot of investment of time, But right now, no, the answer I would not say yes, because I'm still do all my other stuff, and I think also for me it's good to be independent and live from something else, so I can, just be independent. But maybe in 5 or 10 years, I don't, if they want me, I don't know that yet. It's some things you can plan, but not.
Well, from what it sounds, from all the positivities for the future impulses of Berlin today, the people are going to want you, or people will need people like you in those positions in order to help make that vision a reality, collaboratively build
I
what
think
this
right now
city
we
needs.
have some good people there, actually, really, I believe that. So we are on a not bad
Martin is
Positive.
Martin is the Brazilian guy at the table.
Positivity, no?
The positivity,
love it.
full positivity.
Love it.
So Martin, if you could create an utopia for Berlin, which one would be?
It would be a more balanced system of everything. That comes back to what we spoke before. It would be weird if I now come up with a total different picture, but it's what I believe in. So, just a more balanced mix of a city, and I think the goal is also to get there. Communication generally is something that could be really better. Lower this intolerance. People try to build more networks, which is not easy because everyone has their
individual life.
Yeah, exactly, and also their like goals
beliefs,
and so. But that should be in this utopia. That should be work. Kind of try to find more moderators between these worlds, but it's actually the price of the political system we have. Of course, I know that. But we speak about utopia, and in this utopia city, we would have this mediating people that are accepted by everyone, and they would bring more. Bring it down to a less emotional discussion of, okay, you live here, I live here. How can we find a way that we all make compromises that this works together? Because living in a city is a compromise for everyone. That's a trade-off, a big city. So maybe that's the picture.
It's amazing because your utopia sounds a little bit like native. There are many native cultures that they go to the ancient guy to fix the problems. No? Like,
it's communities. A city is the ultimate community.
Yeah, for sure.
Communities live from some people who engage for communities, and how can you run a community by people who are moderators, and some others have different roles. They help to grow the community and so further.
Identify. That's super cool. And I don't listen to much people talking about, and I love this concept of understanding the individual function inside the group. Now, I have this belief that there's no powerful collective without powerful individuals, and powerful individuals are formed by knowing what are their purpose in this group. No? Like as you said, you have the mediator, you have the one that is more extroverted and go out to grow the community. No? All these kind of people. Yeah, it's a beautiful utopia, Martin. Super cool. That's the beauty of utopias. My last question before we move to the next section is, what is one thing or something that you're very grateful for in your life?
About my family, actually, definitely. I said it before.
Amazing.
Yeah. It's easy said and all, and everyone says it, but it's true. A lot of things as I have with kids and everything, I could not do if my wife would not have supported me all the years with all my craziness. It's very clear.
Nice. This is like our guest book, like in a hotel. And this section I love to call a joy shared is a joy doubled. So our last guest left you a question without knowing it would be for you.
Okay.
So you can read it and answer it.
What are the 3 special aspects of Berlin that we should cherish, otherwise they will disappear?
It's a good one.
It's a good one, and it hits a lot of points we spoke about. Yeah, I think the first one is definitely we need to provide spaces for creative people, and that's this. In the same moment, I've said there is a small positive development that at least political stakeholders know about it. In the same moment, it is something that is very dangerous. If the clubs disappear, if we don't have enough spaces for small people to start something, does not always only to be culture. It's creative economy people, small design services, developing software, whatever. People need spaces, and if we don't, if we're not, if we don't provide that in the future, this is dangerous. That this disappears. Second one are the clubs. The clubs have their lobby, yes, and they are a substantial part of the DNA of this city. So we need to still, but be aware they need to be here, and we can see already a process of some real estate problems they have. They are pushed to the outside of Berlin, and I believe Berlin lives from having clubs in the city. So a lot of them are fighting, dealing with these restrictions. So that is definitely the second point. And maybe another aspect is, can we still have a few festivals in the city and stuff? I remember we had this Lollapalooza in Treptower Park.
First.
And I personally, I liked that we are in a big city where sometimes these things are possible. And now we tend more and more to, let's keep it quiet. It bothers some people who live there, and so further, and we become, and a city like Berlin is losing something. So
it becomes flat, no?
Exactly,
like
and
dead somehow.
Yes, and I always say, if you move in a 4 million people city, it will be not quiet like in a village. Okay,
For
so
sure.
Exactly.
maybe, and then don't move here and think now, oh, there's this festival here. Yeah. Let's have this a few times a year, and let's still be as aware that we have tourists. Yes, they are loud and with noise of their suitcases and all of that. And I think a city like Berlin still needs that. Otherwise,
of course,
we are boring, small.
I'm laughing that one day or more than one people told you, I hate the noise of the suitcase of the tourists.
Yeah, okay, I understand. I would be bothered too, but let's think
but
for the general
be very
picture.
German, no? Like it could sound of like a very German cliche, like wir haten the tourists. Amazing. Cool. So I think we're ready to go to our grand finale. So I always do this crossroad between the business world and the music. And it's something that I really find interesting about producing music is connected to the leadership, right? Because you kind of need to have a vision, take decisions, be aware if that's the right path for the song and all this kind of correlation. You know? So that's what we're going to play now. We're going to start a track from scratch, and you're going to produce it. I'm going to execute, but also I brought something that can give you power to execute too. And we're going to create the soundtrack of our episode. So let's put our headphones back. As you know.
I'm learning. Every episode, I'm learning more and more.
Becoming a producer.
So we always start with the BPM, right? So let's choose a BPM first, the speed. Faster, slower?
Faster, go 125.
125. What would you like to start with?
Baseline.
A baseline, okay. Would you like to do it yourself or would you like me to do it?
I can do it.
Okay. I'm gonna choose here the sound, okay?
No, go,
yeah, put it like that. No, put it horizontal. Put it in horizontal.
Yeah.
And if you want to go an octave down, you pick up the yellow, right?
Yeah,
and
okay.
go down, push it down, yeah.
Okay.
I give you sounds.
Leave this one.
Yeah? Oh, sorry, my bad. Yeah, go.
You can record it?
Yeah. I think it recorded.
Okay, now we need the bass drum and see how it works, and then maybe we quantize.
Okay, amazing. I love how it is now, yeah.
Make an 808 bass drum.
Okay,
808 is a synthesizer for those who don't know.
This one?
Yeah?
808?
Yeah?
I do it.
Yeah, it's just
on the
four,
floor?
on the
Okay.
floor, 4 to the
Okay.
floor. Yeah.
You like it?
Yeah.
What else would you bring in?
Very slight delay on the bass line. Super slight.
Okay.
Yeah, like that.
That's the delay I have here. What would you do different with the delay? I can try to add it.
No, it's fine. Let's
Yeah?
take
Can you leave it with it?
Yes.
It's gonna be the soundtrack of our episode. What else would you bring?
Let's have a synth. Oh, wait, go further. That's not bad.
Yeah?
Yeah.
You want to do it? So
Let's try.
let me choose. Cool.
Record.
Yeah, I'm gonna do. We got it. Nice.
I would have a simple hi-hat, open hi-hat.
An open hi-hat. Like what?
Can be a 909.
Yeah? Like this? Huh?
Yeah?
Yeah?
Put it down on the volume.
Amazing. So now that we have our bases, I'm gonna ask you to open this box here, like the second one, the one that is down.
All right.
Bring it to you. Take one for you. Distribute. No
That's
problem.
what I want.
I want that one.
We want.
Yeah.
Okay.
Pick one for me also.
There's another thing here.
And there's a spoon to play that.
Exactly.
Amazing. Okay, cool.
Okay.
So let's go. One, two, three, four.
All right. Let's see if the people liked it.
Martin.
They're the right judges.
Super, thank you very much.
Thank
man.
you.
Thank
so,
you.
to close it off, I want to say, Martin, above everything, it was very fun to talk to you. You left us with a lot of positive charges and a very good perspective of how we can build the future of our city. I love your involvement in different areas in the city, particularly helping us create spaces, safe spaces where we can collaborate and work together. So thank you again. Thank you for coming, and thank you for creating those spaces for us.
Thank you much
Martin.
for the interview, both of you. Good questions. Very challenging sometimes, and it was really nice talking.
Ah,
Thank you.
super cool. And
Thank
thank you for
you.
bringing these positive facts. We need them.